Hello, everyone, and thank you for watching. Today's walk-in is Rhonda from Live Better Naturally. Hi, Rhonda.
Hi, how are you?
I'm good. How are you today?
Good. We've had quite a heat wave where I live, so it's pretty hot outside
Okay.
still.
Where do you live?
I live in Iowa.
Okay. Here in Florida is a rain wave.
Oh my gosh,
It's
it's probably
raining
really humid.
almost like I don't know how many days now.
Yeah,
So
very,
cool.
very humid. You have a lot of humidity there.
Mm-hmm. Your podcast, which is kind of run through the radio show, is Live Better Naturally. What is that about?
Well, I've been doing it for 30 years, and it started out because I do have a holistic health business. And so
Mhm.
I would go on every month or sometimes more than once a month and talk about some kind of different holistic thing. So over the course of 30 years, I've tried to not duplicate topics, or at least if it's the same topic, it has a different spin to it, but talks about a lot of different things of holistic things that I do, but also comparing them for other things. So it's everything from knowing the difference between different types of massage to actually how healthy pickle juice is for you, how eating ice cream can be healthy, to feng shui. So there's just a lot of different things, but it all somehow relates back into how does that help your life be healthier or more in balance?
Mhm. That's good. Well, I noticed you said it's 30 years. So my first question would be, with 30 years, how much holistic uh healthcare has changed from when you started with last 30 years?
A lot of people are more into it, more receptive. Even something the simplest as lavender oil was considered like obscure and woo woo, and people thought, oh my gosh, what's this nutcase talking about? But now that's mainstream. So that's been really
Mhm.
good. And I like to feel like I played a part in that because I was one of those forerunners that went out and started talking about different things, and that there's a difference, that massage is healthy. But 30 years ago,
Mhm.
massage did not have a good reputation. It was not as well accepted as
Oh,
it is now.
really?
So I feel like, that my shows and educating people, my background is also that I've been an instructor at the college level and university level for business. So I have an MBA. So that's a whole different side to me. But I had health problems and I got into holistic health, and it's helped me. So I didn't really start the business to be in business 34 years later. I did it more because I wanted to educate people, to let them know you had options. You didn't have to live in pain. If there was something
Mhm.
that wasn't working in traditional Western medicine or even traditional circles, that there was something else that you could do. So that's kind of how it all started. And so I've been doing that, and it has changed a lot. Again, people are more open. They're hungry kind of for the information. And that's why it's kind of morphed into where now I can talk about things about colors and numbers and feng shui and things like that. Back when I first started, it was a difference between reflexology and a foot massage, or what's the difference between B12 and B6, so there's been a lot of different things that have changed, and it's all for the better, I believe.
That's actually interesting for me. So how hard was to convince the people back then? Because you were giving them information that was something that they absolutely didn't know anything about. How do you convince them that this is real?
And
This
and
is
that
new and real.
and that's still a struggle. I mean, there's still people who are very skeptical. A lot of people still think that massage is just for like a special treat or a spa day, let's have fun or pamper ourselves. They don't
No, it's
necessarily
so
realize that there's,
cheating. Oh
yeah,
my God. The best thing you can do for your body, have massage at least
yes.
like 2 times a month. Or if you can do like once a week, that would be good as well. But like if anytime you can have a massage, like if I would do like once a month, would be minimum, not even minimum. That's kind of like good, good, good to be with. If you need more, but I don't think you need less than once a month.
No, no. So it was a really hard sell. It's kind of interesting. I'll just share a little story here that of course, I used to work for a large corporation. I was a corporate trainer. And then
Mm-hmm.
I was injured on the job and nothing helped. I had paralysis in my arm and they told me I'd have to live with it the rest of my life. So
Mm-hmm.
just by a fluke, the people, when I was in graduate school, and this was in the 1980s in rural Illinois, the town was like 10,000 people. So it was not, a metropolis by any means, going to college, working on my master's in business. And the lady that lived next door, her grandparents did massage. So
Okay.
I went and had a massage and they said, oh, I can. They said, do you have problems with your arm? I never even mentioned my arm. And so they said, oh, we can help you. So within 2 weeks' time, I had a massage every other day for 2 weeks and I had 90% usage of my arm back. And the doctors had told me I would never use that arm again. And then, slowly then that led into other things, like I did chiropractic and herbs and supplements and, different acupuncture, all of those kinds of things. And so then I was curious. So I started taking classes with them and never again dreaming that this would become what my business is. So it's one of those things that it was really hard. So when I got out of graduate school, I wanted to get a job teaching business classes at a local university. And I went to the job interview, and the woman who arranged the job interview, her husband was a chiropractor. So she understood the benefit of what I'd done as a sideline because I just started doing massages. I'd had enough hours in training till I found a real job. And
Mm-hmm.
so I was looking to get this, and she said, I'm going to warn you. They think it's weird that you do massage. And again, this was, in 1990. And
Uh-huh.
so I went in there and it was for teaching a marketing class, small business entrepreneurial marketing your business. And I went in there and the very first question is, so what makes you think you're qualified to teach a marketing and business class when you do massage for a living? And I looked at the director, he was the dean, and I said, I have taken the worst reputation occupation in a small, rural, Midwestern, conservative area and state and made
Mm-hmm.
it a success. And if I can do that with something that is not well received generally by the general public, I think I could teach anything. And so, he said, okay, well, we'll start out with just one class. And then, I taught there for years and years and years and years. So, it is what it is. But yeah, you have, and I attribute that business background and that marketing background to knowing how to get out there and network with people and show them the benefit. Plus, telling people my testimonial, that had a lot to do with it too. And again, even 34, 35 years later, there's still skeptics and there's still people that think that
Mm-hmm.
it's not legit or not beneficial or whatever. And those just aren't my people anymore, so
Mm-hmm.
that's kind of the story.
Yeah, that's awesome story. I like that as well. Like right on there. So without the, I think what happens with a lot of people when the doctor gives one advice, and we get into it later, but like you said, the massage people, they can see without you even telling them what's wrong. They look at your body, and I had this before as well. They look at your body and say, like, you have something going on there. You have something going on there. Like they can see it, you know. And after like first when they do the massage, they can not like directly with the eyes see inside your body, but they can see with their mind. They can see your muscles and bones, and like when they feel all of this, and they know where the tension is, where to touch, what to push. And it's not, sometimes I experience as well, it's not the spot that actually hurts, it's something that is connected to. That's where you have to stretch it or something, and that they know where that is.
Yes, yes. And massage training has completely changed over the years too, with all of the different things that have happened and different training tools and books and, all of those kinds of things. That has definitely changed and morphed into its own giant business over the years too. But yeah, gone are the days like you're probably too young for Gunsmoke, but I remember watching Gunsmoke as a child, and there was a doctor on there, and it didn't matter if you had a bullet, if you got shot with a bullet, or if it was, you got trampled by cows or you had a fever. The very first thing he did was stick your tongue out. And then he could be like, oh yeah, then do this, and take this, and whatever. And I think we've lost that component in Western medicine. The doctor doesn't take that time. And it isn't about sticking out the tongue. It's about doing a visual assessment, because they've become so hooked into what insurance dictates that can be covered.
Yes.
And that determines that tests have to be run. They can't
Mhm.
just immediately look at somebody and pinch the skin and say, yeah, you're showing signs of, either edema or dehydration, or let's do this. They have to run a series of tests. So that component, that sort of like interaction, that human component where there's that actual physical touch and taking time to literally just look at the body, like that's one of the things that you can tell just by watching people walk, what their gait is, do they turn one foot in, do they turn one foot out? Those all mean things. And when you've been trained to look at those kinds of things in a holistic perspective, that's different. And Western medicine doctors are so overwhelmed and busy that they don't have the opportunity to spend that much time, like an hour, with each patient. So that's part of it, I think, too.
Yeah, they just look at the numbers in the paper. I'm going to talk about that in a second with you. But I want to tell the viewers that number one takeaway right away is go get a massage. So we go to the next, we're going to go to the next topic, but you mark in your calendar to take a massage, go get a massage. So another thing is with the doctors, when they do their medical observation of the patient, I was just thinking about that. You have to do the blood tests, but they make you not eat anything for 12 hours. So in my mind, if you don't eat there 12 hours, then your body is out of all the nutrients that it usually has. So now when you go, those numbers go to the doctor, your numbers are lower than they usually are daily in your daily schedule.
Except that's probably more accurate,
Yeah, but
because
like I would think, unless it goes back to insurance, so you can't do it. But like then should be two tests, one without and one after you eat. So they will see what's the difference with your regular numbers and your diet.
yeah, that's an interesting point. Definitely interesting point. But I think that, and I think some like blood sugar tests do that, where they have like a fasting, or they actually even have you drink some things in between, with different things with that too. So yeah, and it's important to look at those numbers and things too. But I'm so far into holistic stuff that I like to see what's the root cause, what's the emotional association, the mind body connection between that, because and it's, I think there's a place for everything. I'm certainly not suggesting people don't go to their doctor or don't do Western medicine. I think it works really well together. And but the thing is that you're never going to get a situation rectified if you don't get to what the root cause of it is. And whether the root cause is that you have the wrong pillow, or maybe it's something more than that your boss is a pain in the neck, and that it's what's causing your headaches, but you don't want to move on to do a different job. So it's really important that you kind of look again, and that's what holistic does, is it looks at the whole picture, the whole person. And that's the other thing that's happened, over the centuries. It used to be that people would go to their religious person, whether it was a priest or a shaman or whatever, for their medical treatment. And then things happened around the 1800s, where they started to divide that. And so they said, okay, the priest or the minister or whatever, you can have the spiritual part of the body. Then we're going to have somebody who's going to do, like Sigmund Freud would talk about the mind part. And then we're going to have physicians to do the physical part. But back in the days with Hippocrates, the father of modern medicine, he treated the whole body again too. And it was often, people don't realize this, that he would order massages for people, and he would also do astrological charts on them. So that has another whole component too. So when you start talking with some people are like, now they're okay with massage. But then if I say, well, did you know that the father of modern medicine actually did astrological charts to see how that affected people's health? Like, they're not quite there yet to accept that kind of thing. But that's the kind of stuff that I like to look at and get deeper into, and take a look at what what else is out there, because you can't just keep taking pills over and over again, and that's just patching the tire.
Mhm.
So you have to look at the root
Yeah,
cause.
I'm the same way. Like you have to follow the doctor, but now there is even more holistic, like Western style of education doctors who also gone holistic. So
Yes.
they have the background. They went to the school to learn the Western medicine, but then they added holistic. They learned more holistic as well, and then combining. So they actually practicing both in the same time, which is that's the doctor that you should be looking for.
Absolutely. And Deepak Chopra had a lot to do with that. He was, people thought that he was the other way, that he started more of the Hindu, Indian kind of Ayurvedic medicine, and then was Western medicine, and that is not true at all. He was a
Hmm.
Western medicine MD who happened to, through one of his college roommates, when they went back for a college reunion at Harvard Medical School, he came and studied with the Maharishi and learned holistic and Ayurvedic treatments, and that then expanded his thought process. So then he went back and he opened the center in San Diego, and that helped a lot, because that he was like the bridge, because he was someone from the Western medicine field who said, hey, I think there's something to this holistic thing. And so then, he kind of paved the way for a lot of other MDs to actually get involved in that as well too. And like I said before, I think the two work really well together, and I'd love to see
Hmm.
more of that.
Yeah, I think that's the goal for the future to have two of them work together. So you do also or herbs. I heard that I think one of the shows that I was listening of yours was you were talking about herbs.
Was it the dandelion one? When I was talking about dandelions and the roots and
I
the different parts to do with
maybe.
that too. Yeah, so I try to time it with see what's going on newsworthy, and we had lots of dandelions popping up, and they're really good for the bees. And around here, everybody wants to spray. So I did a show on dandelions and stuff. I don't I don't profess to be an expert when it comes to herbs, because there is so much to know, but I do know a few, and then I also know some people who specialize in herbal treatments and tonics and things like that too. So, but yeah, I've talked about dandelions. I've talked about different herbs that are out there that you can utilize and things too, but they're usually pretty common ones. Like if you were to ask me today, what's the good Ayurvedic herb for, migraine headaches, I could not tell you that, but I could tell you someone who would be able to tell you that. So,
Mhm.
and
But
again, it's just people's curiosity for them to learn more about herbs.
hmm But back in the day, and like not long time ago, before the Western, like the pharmacies came along, that was the way people were healing everything.
Yes,
Herbs,
yes,
different types
yes,
of herbs.
yes.
And then it became more chemical, and now it's becoming more electronical, I guess.
And what people don't realize is that pharmaceutical drugs have their root in herbal therapies, whether
Hmm.
it's essential oils or tinctures, or actually the roots of things, or berries, or leaves, all of those kinds of things. And that, but there's no money that can be made, because
Hmm.
you can't patent a tea made from dandelion roots, but you can take and extract the nutrients in the dandelion roots and add some kind of a synthetic component and slap your pharmaceutical company name on it, and then it becomes your intellectual property. So people don't realize that a lot of these Western medicine pharmaceutical products actually got their roots, pun intended, from holistic and herbal things.
Yeah, because everything actually, all the medicine started from holistic. So it just changed to the business, and now we're trying to somewhat change. But it's both kind of work together, because we also got a lot of tools to like surgeries and all things. So it developed to the better point, but you had to see the difference whereas there's just money making and where it's just a healing.
Yes, yes.
When they just trying to make money, and they're not interested about you getting well. That's the problem. Because we need doctors
And
and all
people,
of them for surgeries and all the things, and we need doctors. But I think the pharmaceutical companies are controlling the doctors. Did you hear that part?
yeah, it's freezing up, so I didn't hear what you
Oh,
said.
yeah, I said that uh, the way it is kind of, we need all the doctors, but pharmaceutical companies, they kind of um, like taking advantage of the doctors.
Yeah, and I encourage everybody, please read the side effects, please read the success rate. And what a
Exactly.
lot of people don't know is that if you actually, the pharmacy hates to see me if I get a prescription, they hate to see it, because which is very rare that I will take a prescription. But
Hmm.
um I'll be like, well, it says, like 4% of the people had, this alternative kind of reaction or whatever. They actually have statistics that they can look up and tell you how many people were in the study and how many people that was. And, sometimes I even inquire about that. You can even get that minute in the detail if you actually talk to your pharmacist. And I have found that pharmacists are actually way more knowledgeable about medications and interactions and results than the doctor, because again, the doctor's job isn't necessarily the pharmacy part of it. The doctor's job is assessing and determining what the illness is and maybe what the best course is to get to that. So, talk to your pharmacist, make a friend with the pharmacist. And but I'm a big believer in traditional Chinese medicine and going for acupuncture and herbs and things like that. So that's usually my first route. And that's the other thing too, is that people will say something like, oh, well, holistic medicine didn't work, that, they tried everything and they still, didn't get better, that, the cancer didn't go away or what. And, whatever it is, their headaches or whatever. Well, a lot of times it's because it's the last thing they do. They don't believe in what they're doing. And so
Hmm.
they just kind of got drugged there. But if you start there, a lot of times the success rate is really awesome. So that's, don't be afraid to try that, and just try different pieces of the puzzle until you can get the results that you want.
Hmm. I also want that made me point out like how the placebo effect works with the drugs when they
Mhm.
actually test the drugs and they see that you also have to believe in it, and even if it's the drug is not real, it heals you when you believe in it.
That's a lot of it. I mean, not always, but that is a big part of it. That if you think, and that's in life in general, that doesn't have to do with holistic stuff or medicine, or it's whatever. If you think you're going to get the job and you're positive about it, you're more likely that you're going to get the job. So it's that belief of what the expected outcome is going to be in any situation.
Hmm. And you have to believe for the positive outcome, because if you already go in with the idea that it's not going to help me, whatever it is, then it's just not gonna help you, because that's what you teach probably as well with your holistic practice, like the mindset.
Yes, absolutely. And again, I still think that things will work, but they work faster if you're open minded about that they're going to work.
Hmm. So what's your favorite part about the way you do your business with specifically with holistic healing? What do you start with?
So everything shifted during the pandemic. Before the pandemic, I was 99% in person, maybe 98% in person, and 2% distance, because I can do distance healing things and distance sessions and things. But the pandemic changed all of that with
Hmm.
rules and regulations. And I used to do probably majority of massage, but I want to say maybe 60-40 was massage and 40% was other, which would be maybe like Reiki or energy work. I created a session where there was kind of everything combined. But after the pandemic, there were just so many different, or during the pandemic, there were so many different requirements. For instance, one of the things is that they didn't want, for massage, they didn't want you to have carpet in your office where your therapy room was because
Oh,
of needing to clean in between everybody. This was the onset. They have certain
okay.
regulations now based on the insurance of how many square foot that you need to have based on that, and certain kinds of exhaust or filtration of the air, all of those things. So it just kind of shifted. And there's a lady that I had met previously we're friends on Facebook, and she was looking for somebody to be a guest on her podcast. And so she wanted somebody that talked about numbers. And I said, well, she wanted a numerologist. And I said, I'm not a numerologist at all. I'm a blueprint messenger. And I talk about numbers and healing, and how numbers affect healing, and how certain things would, affect that. And so that shifted, and being on just that one show, it really then kind of took off. And I discovered then that I really was enjoying doing these kind of Zoom things, where I would interact with people, and we would talk about that, and then talk about the root cause and the mind body connection. And then from there, I was given the opportunity to get a quantum frequency machine. And so it's really awesome too. And you can do that with distance. You can do distance sessions with that as well. So now my business is about, 95% Zoom, online, consulting, distance sessions, and maybe 5% in person. And again, doing workshops and classes and things too are now online. They're not necessarily going to be in my office space, and with that too. So now I have, more people that I can connect with. So I have to say that definitely talking about colors, because I do colors, and looking at the colors and things like that, that my thing has morphed now into frequency sessions, more frequency, vibrational healing. I have a thing with sound healing where I use tuning forks, and I can do all of that via
Can
Zoom.
you can you explain the frequency for the viewer?
So every one of us, if you think about it, if you've ever had rocks and you are sitting, and there's a pond or a stream or whatever, and you throw these pebbles into the water, it ripples. So it's kind of like it has a ripple effect. We all have that. It's like sonar. We have all of this kind of thing. And everything, whether it's colors or music or whatever, can be reduced to a harmonic frequency or a sound vibration as well. It's the same thing then. Numbers are the only universal language. And so numbers then, Pythagoras discovered that everything, including music and art, and everything can be reduced down to a mathematical number equation. And once you know the frequency or the number or the blueprint of that particular thing, the sound, the color, the frequency, because color comes in wavelengths, sound comes in sonar things, then it has a certain characteristic, a certain personality, a certain way that you can take a look at that. It can give you indications into, what's happening in the person as far as their life or their career, their finances, their health, all of those kinds of things. So basically it's working on the energy field. Probably the common term most people would understand is aura. It goes a little more complex than just the aura, but it deals with the energy, the chakras, all of these frequencies that are sort of like that sonar, or those wavelengths that are coming off of the body. Does that help, or do you want me to clarify it a little more?
A little bit more, like for the person to understand the frequency. So how does it measure it? It just prints it out the chart.
Are you talking about the frequency machine sessions that I would
Yes.
have? Okay, so what it does is that it actually, the particular device that I have, there's 144,000 different combinations of programs that are on there. You do a scan on the individual based on their energy field, and then it will pick the top 5 areas that you need the most attention to out of 144,000. It is eerie how it picks. It amazes me every single time. I'm like, oh my gosh. And so, it's always right on the dot. And so then what happens is it tells me what those are. Generally what I do is I take a screenshot of those. Plus it also saves it to their history in their file online while it's in my files. And then I will send them the screenshot as well, so that they have that to look over. Then I'll assess it for them and tell them, like this particular thing, excuse me. So, for example, there's one program that if you wanted to run the traditional Chinese medicine meridians, you can do that, and it'll tell you which meridians are the ones that need to have the frequency balanced. And then it will energetically send those things in order to help through quantum physics to help you align those things. Same thing with the chakra. And yes, there's even a program that will do auras, and it will actually print out a picture of the aura. It'll tell you which parts of the aura need more tuning or balance, what colors that you need. Like, for instance, if you need more red for energy, or you need more blue to calm down, or maybe you're going to give a speech and you need blue, all of those kinds of things. Like it comes up with that. And just to kind of give you a little example, I've been working with this lady who had a sudden loss of hearing in one of her ears, and she started to get tinnitus. And she has been to every Western doctor, every ear, nose, and throat, hearing specialist. She's gone chiropractic. She did Chinese medicine, and then somebody referred her to me, and we were doing Reiki. But I talked to her and I said, let's try the scan. And I had picked up when I was doing the healing session before that there was something going on with her teeth. And I'm like, well, are you having any trouble with your teeth? And she's like, no, not that I know of. I'm like, okay. So then we run the scan, and the scan definitely showed up that there was something going on within her teeth, but it also showed the pineal gland. Now, I would have in a never million years, and even though know a lot about different stuff, have never known that a symptom of imbalance in the pineal gland is tinnitus, and that can be, and hearing loss can be related to the pineal gland. Now, it says it's rare, but I was like amazed, and this machine picked up that her her areas that really needed help were her dental and her pineal gland. And so we sent frequencies to harmonize those kinds of things. But sure, then after that, she went to the dentist again, and she's like, do I really have some? And they said, yeah, you have like some kind of a thing going on with an infection and all of that. And so anyway, I'm just saying, like, it's kind of woo woo woo. Like, even I'm like, whoa, that's pretty amazing. So, it's really interesting. Even if you don't believe in it, it's kind of cool just to have the scan done to see what it shows. So, and it's different. I have a pet one. I use it on my pets, and they get treatments and things like that too. So that's something that's totally new, though. I've only been doing that about a year, and it's still like every day I learn something when I run it on somebody. But that gave this woman two new alternatives then for her to go back to her Western medicine doctors and see, like, when I consider a dentist like a Western medicine doctor. And so she's had some dental work done this week, and waiting to hear back from her how things are going. So yeah, it's just a really interesting thing. But again, it deals with the electromagnetic field in your body. And if you have, if you've ever heard the children's story, The Princess and the Pea, where she sleeps on all these mattresses, but she can still feel the pea that's out of balance, that's caused that ripple. That's kind of what's happening in the energy field. When something is out of balance, it's pulling on everything else. And until you get that particular part of your energy field back into alignment, going with the flow, it's going to cause a chain reaction of something else that's going to happen, whether it's a headache or nausea or just lethargy. Like, we don't ever really know what's going to happen with the mind-body connection as to what the physical thing will be. But I can tell you, from holistically speaking, by the time something manifests physically, you've been ignoring it for a really long time energetically. And by energetically, I mean your frequency, your aura, your, that kind of thing.
For the viewer, that context for Rhonda is on the description. So if you want to schedule any of the sessions or have more contact with her, so go to the description and look up her websites and everything. Click in there and get in contact. But I wanted to point out the same thing. People think that their mind, like who I am, ends with the body. And that's the first understanding of yourself. You don't end where your body ends. You have multiple levels of energy still, and like just layers of you connecting to everything else around you. So like the energy levels, the waves that come in, waves that go out on your cell phone, I don't think cell phone is that bad, but like what it's that bad like people say it is, but it still affects you. The
Yes,
TVs, your neighbor's TV, like all those things around you, your body doesn't end where your skin is.
exactly. Exactly. We have that, it's that ripple effect.
Mhm.
It's those waves like the pebbles in the pond, you're the pebble, and it sends out and it connects with other people or things or places, and then it comes back and gives you also a perception of that as well. That's why you can get a perception about whether or not you particularly like a place or a restaurant or a person, or
Mhm.
you feel at home in a particular location, those kinds of things, because of you are picking up, if you're paying attention to your
Mhm.
intuition and your what's being taught to you. Electronically isn't the correct word, but through your energetic information frequency, then you're going to get feedback, and honor that. That's the hardest thing, is you get
Mhm.
the message and then you're like, yeah, no, I don't know where that came from. I'm going to ignore that. And every time you're like, oh, like 2 years later, you're like, yeah, I should have listened, to myself.
Mhm.
So it's important, in whether it's your health or business or your mind or anything like that.
Yeah. I learned as well not to ignore it, but just have a conversation with it, and you see like what's the reasoning behind it. That's just like when I feel something, I don't like that's the main thing. You can't ignore what you feel, and you can't also, if it's a fear, you can't just get into it, or whatever the feeling is, you can't just go into it. You have to analyze it before you react on it.
Yes. Yes, it's a message. It's a message for you at some place, whether it's part of your life lessons that you have to learn, or, it's some kind of a warning signal, that you're supposed to pay attention. But yeah, definitely listen to those things.
Hmm. We're gonna start wrapping up in a little bit, so we're gonna ask some last questions and everything. Do you have anything that? What's your main lesson to the people now in our times? Right. Well, right now for the viewers, it's 2024, not August yet, July. So, what would be the message right now for the people who living right now? What to do for their um, living better naturally?
Well, if you're talking about, for the remainder of 2024, then I just want everybody to know that this is an 8 year. We're in an 8 year. An 8 year is lessons of money, it's lessons of karma, and it could be that you have a lot of money or you have no money. It's also about structure and putting your nose to the grindstone, getting organized, getting all of those details together. So this is a year that you want to kind of do those foundation things with that too. It's also about letting go. And as we progress into 2025, that will be a 9 year, because you add up 2 plus 0 plus 2 plus 5. And that is all about letting things go, looking for new beginnings, getting rid of things that don't serve you any longer, whether it's, your grandma's dishes or the job that you think that you really need to find something that's going to make you happier. So, I always, like, numbers talk to me. That's my biggest thing. That's probably the thing I'm the best known for, is that you want to look at what the numbers are. And if you happen to watch this before August the 8th, it is the Lionsgate portal. This year it will be an 888, which also adds up to 24. And there we are in 2024. So that's very significant. That's a time to really manifest, set. And that happens every year. It's just that this year, because we're in a year 8, that's really, really powerful. So that's the biggest thing that I would have to leave with that. The second thing is that you need to overall trust your intuition. Don't just take no, or you're going to have to live with that as a answer, and for whatever that is. If I had listened to what they told me and not continued to try new things, and don't be afraid to mix it up and try new things. Sometimes it's the order in which you do things, and then you kind of come back and remix it again with massage or chiropractic or whatever. Don't just settle with, this is how it's got to be. I have to live with this pain, or I have to live with this paralysis, or I have to live with these migraines. No, you have the ability to do that. So definitely do those things and take time for introspection to sit down and listen. What are these things telling you? One of the things that I also talk about is imagined interactions. And like you were talking about, I have my clients talk a conversation with whatever's going on, whether it's a pain or unhappiness or an illness or whatever, talk to that, have a conversation with that. So don't just sit idly by and accept. I guess that's my
Mm-hmm.
final thing is don't just accept maybe what's in front of you,
Mm-hmm.
because a lot of times that's only just one little screenshot. You don't see, the whole picture. So again, just, definitely do things to nurture yourself and be kind to other people too.
Mm-hmm. I like what you said. Like, don't idle on that. Like, find a way to make it better. And there is a way. There is always a way to make it better. So, another question that I ask all my guests is, what makes you happy? Not like what people generally think that happiness is supposed to be or what it is, but what is happiness for you, Rhonda?
My my dogs are my happiness, I have to say. They are my joy. They absolutely give me so much happiness and joy even on the worst day. They just know it, and it's because it's that unconditional love. So I have to say that that's probably the thing that brings me the most joy, the most happiness. um, Excuse me.
Mm-hmm.
I also love educating people,
Mm-hmm.
whether it's even somebody in line at the grocery store and they ask me a question or whatever. So those are two sources. One's more external, the other one's more internal. But I would definitely be one of those people that if I lived in Florida and there was a hurricane, I would not leave without my dogs. If my dogs couldn't go to the shelter with me, I just stay where I was. And I say that because because I used to, when I was married, we had a house in Florida and we would go back and forth. And so I survived a couple of hurricanes down there too. But I'm that kind of person. Like,
Yeah.
my dogs can't go, well, then I'm not going either. So they are definitely my joy, my happiness.
Yeah. Absolutely. It's a family member. It's something, and they animals have such a great way of sensing all those layers outside of their body. They can communicate so well with their outside layers. Well, plus they communicate with our outside layers. Like, not the cat that I have now, but the cat that I had before. She knew back in the day, she knew that I was pregnant before I knew that I was pregnant. And I was like, she never done it before, but that when I was like, she started coming over and massaging my belly. I was like, that's interesting. She's never done it before, but I do like it. And few like I think a week later, I found out that I was pregnant. It was like, oh, that makes sense. Yeah,
Animals are very intuitive, very intuitive.
they can see through all the layers and
They
everything. So
can.
that's really cool.
And they still love us. They can see all of our layers and they still love us. That's what's the
Mhm.
best.
They're awesome. Animals, everybody, I know everybody's watching always agrees, and everybody agrees animals are just awesome. So cool, Rhonda. Everybody is watching. Definitely go at the description and go at the links and look at Rhonda's podcast and the radio and all the information there. Contact with her. Um, it was a really nice conversation. I could go on with a few more hours talking about all the knowledge that you have.
Thanks.
So that's interesting. So everybody's watching, go subscribe or make a link and watch Rhonda's podcast. Good information there.
Well, thank you for having me as a guest. I enjoyed it a lot.
Hmm. Thank you, everybody, for watching. Go out, go enjoy your day, have fun, and probably there's usually no such coincidences that you just clicked in the video. Usually, people who are clicking in the video, they have some kind of contact to the video, and you probably got some message just exactly for yourself. So take that message, go have fun. Bye.
Bye.